Hello everyone, this is Sabrina from Live Through This. Today we have an interview with composer, musician, cellist, and mental health activist Bonfire Madigan Shive. I met up with Bonfire Madigan right after she performed her set at the Geary Theater. She was scoring "'Tis a Pity She's a Whore," and right afterwards she came down with me and talked in her dressing room about her contribution to the book. Okay. Hello, Bonfire Madigan.
Hello, Sabrina.
How are you?
I'm fabulous. I'm working hard, and we just had a great book release event for Live Through This.
Yes.
Yes.
And, well, I'm going to ask you just a few questions about your submission.
Okay.
And, well, I'm not even sure what they are, but I'll figure them out as I go along.
Fabulous.
Great.
Should I grab the book as a reference?
No, I think we'll just ask. Well, let me, you know what, I think one of the things that I would like to talk about that didn't get in the book, which sort of kills me, is, because we had to sort of like narrow it down to like a fine narrative, is the understanding of class as it plays into mental health. Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, it's a lot to go into.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a lot to go into because a lot of the Western mainstream medical establishment is actually, it's so insidious, and experiments on slaves and people of color and poor women, and you know, when you really start to delve into the history of where and how kind of a lot of healthcare came about in this country, it's very violent, and it's very violent against women and poor people and people of color and working class people who came here from other countries to, you know, be a part of this melting pot, but ultimately had these hideous experiments done on them. And you know, all this is for a reason somewhere, I guess, and that's what keeps me positive, is that everything's in a state of change. Mm-hmm. And when we surrender to that change, that's why I am such an avid harm reductionist, which we didn't talk about as much in the chapter, but is in the book, just by way of my mad map, my wellness crisis plan. Can
you talk a little bit about harm reduction, what that is?
Sure. I mean, harm reduction is, it's in its most simplest form, it's a social justice modality and a way of reducing the immediate harm without being dualistic about things, without being moralistic, without saying this is good or bad, just saying this is what it is, and how in the immediate can we reduce the immediate harm to oneself and others. And it's, you know, free condoms are a form of harm reduction. There's a lot of examples of what harm reduction is, but we're just starting to really infiltrate harm reduction more into mental health and into things like the forced drugging of youth and these really intense issues of our time. But I love harm reduction. It's really like, how in the immediate can we make this less harmful, less toxic, and more about capacity and creativity and you know, that wellspring that I think is inside of everybody that makes a collective moment and collective liberation really exciting. And I think ultimately people want to let go of the me. I think we're kind of hungry to start to explore how the me becomes the we.
You talked for a second in the piece about how you had your own like coming out of mental health, like, you know, when you were like, finally I'm coming out about this. What gave you the strength to do that, and what was the hardest thing in terms of coming out as mentally ill? I'm going to move just so I'm not like leaning completely over. Go ahead. I know, I'm like...
Here we are in my dressing room.
I know, in her dressing room.
Well, that's funny that you say, because I don't subscribe to being mentally ill. And so I never have come out with that. What I've come out with is my own journey with suicidal despair, with my relationship to suicide, which I think is actually a civil rights issue, which we won't get into now. That's its own whole. We'll delve into that another time. As well as mood extremes and altered states of consciousness and things like this, which I think should be given their own opportunity to be a part of how we experience this reality. And instead of being a reality prisoner, I'm fiercely committed to being a reality maker. That's also, I think, what makes me a creative person and to have a career in the arts. So we are in my dressing room here at the Geary Theater in San Francisco. But you know what gave me the confidence, because I was terrified of the labels, of the stereotypes, of the judgment that comes with dealing with people who experience these things and are given these labels. And I think that labels are only useful on jars, period. What gave me the confidence was meeting a lot of other people and feeling more pride and empowerment from my own history, my family's history, and then meeting more people who are just fiercely talking about their own experiences with what gets called mental illness, with depression and anxiety and obsessive compulsive reactions and impulse control, or all these. That happens with me a lot. What is my relationship to impulse control? How much harm or trouble am I going to get into? And you know what, usually it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think we need more benign trouble.
Can I ask you just to talk a little bit about the Icarus Project and why you think community is an important thing in terms of mental health, understanding mental health?
Absolutely. Well, the Icarus Project is a radical grassroots mental health community led by and for people labeled with or experiencing or realizing that they're experiencing things that would probably get you labeled with a mental illness in this culture at this time. I think that it is absolutely about redefining what wellness means and what healthy living means in our time. And for me, it is absolutely about where the mind, body, and community find harmony and find oneness. And I think we're finally moving out of an era of healthcare where the mind and body are separate, and the body is a machine that you treat with surgery and drugs. I think this is an absolutely arcane way, almost a barbaric way of looking at personhood and community. And I think more and more people are hungry, again, for this experience and to participate in the mind-body community working together. One of our publications is called Friends Make the Best Medicine. And this was actually something I heard a lot in the Psychiatric Survivors Network, and something that's been true for my life is really, it's important in my life that people know that I love them and that I can express this without terror and without fear.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you build intentional family and intentional community, and that's what makes life worth living.
Great. Let me ask you one last thing. What would you say to a young woman or a young man, anyone that's dealing with these issues right now of either suicidal despair or feeling that, you know, they can't get a handle on their emotions and don't feel like they're going to make it, and even just either reading this book or listening to, they don't think it's enough? What would you say to them, just simply?
Very simply?
Yeah.
Change is the maker. Realize everything's in a state of change. This moment is going to be in the past, and you'll be in the future, and the next moment will be there. And hold on to that change and be an agent of it, and be a maker of your own reality. And do that in tandem with everybody who resonates with your illuminations.
Awesome.
Don't give up.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Bonfire Madigan.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Thanks for this book.
Yay.
Including me in it.